very, very short so that we're able to just wrap up for today. Okay. And then I think when the book is presented, there's also going to be a scan code behind the book so that you're able to download the report. So we call on Miss Nicole. Please come forward quickly for the launch. Put your hands together for her. She comes in. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you feeling? So let's do something very, very quick. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show that you're happy and you know it, jump up and clap your hands. Come on. Well done, everyone. Well done. Good afternoon again. Good afternoon again, and welcome to a very iconic moment in this conference. It's the launch of a report that speaks directly to everything we've been talking about today. That speaks directly to everything we've been talking about today and even yesterday with the master classes. Today's report, which is about to be launched, is titled Overcompliance with FATF Recommendations 8 in West Africa Towards Dismantling Regulatory Burdens for NGOs. And it really was born out of a simple but urgent observation by Spaces for Change that in the name of countering terrorist financing, many of our states, and indeed many banks, the regulators, have gone further than FATF ever intended with the Recommendations 8. And in doing so, they have placed unnecessary burdens on the very institutions that drive humanitarian action, drive development, and democratic accountability. Recommendations 8 has been revised by FATF, and it was revised because FATF itself recognized that a one-size-fits-all approach to the non-profit organization was causing a lot of unintended consequences. And it did conduct a study in 2021, and based off the reports and insights it got from the study, it then went on to revise Recommendations 8. At the core of the report about to be launched today, it explains what overcompliance means. And I'll just say what the report says. Overcompliance occurs when state actors and regulators impose measures that go beyond what FATF actually requires, often justified in the language of transparency and counter-terrorist financing, but functioning in practice as regulatory overreach. Put simply, it's the gap between what Recommendations 8 requires and what is ultimately implemented on the ground. The report examines the drivers of overcompliance. It speaks to the impact of overcompliance on NPOs in West Africa. So for all the NPOs in the room, this is a report you want to take a look at. For all the regulators, you want to take a look at this. And it also speaks about the manifestation of overcompliance in West Africa. Then it wraps up very beautifully with recommendations. Recommendations that are really clear for FATF, recommendations that are quite clear for the West African states, and recommendations for the NPOs. I'm not going to be here on my own. I've said all of this to say that it's a great report, and you should look forward to opening the pages of the report. I've had the chance to. This afternoon, we're privileged to have someone with us who's coming up very shortly, whose experience spans the evolution of this agenda from its earliest years. He is Ambassador Professor Abdullahi Shehu. Please put your hands together. I would ask that you don't stop clapping until he gets here. He is the pioneer, Director General of GIABA. Welcome, Ambassador. Welcome. I believe you can sit anywhere. We have a lot of chairs. He is the Pioneer Director General of GIABA. You might have heard that today. And he will share his reflections on the report's findings. As our distinguished reviewer, following his remarks, we will engage in a short conversation, and then we'll open the floor for one or two pressing questions from the audience. I now invite you, Ambassador, to share your reflections of this report by Spaces for Change.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I saw my presentation on the slide. Am I going to control it anywhere? Yeah. Where do I control it? Because I want to take not more than 10 minutes because people are tired and hungry also. So I need to be sensitive to the audience. Whatever I need to say, I can preserve it and then it can be shared to you. But if I cannot see the presentation, I'll go through it from what I have on my set here. First, okay, how do I control it from here? I can't control and I can't be telling you, go forward, go backward. Let me just get it from my set. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers, particularly Mrs. Victoria Ibezem, who reached out to me to participate. And you know that I'm sponsored by SECFIN, and therefore SECFIN has also sponsored several participants here. So SECFIN is a very strong supporter of this initiative, and we shall continue to do so. Thank you very much, Iona, my brother from Uganda, for your active coordination coming for the initial study, as well as, oh, okay, great. So, thank you very much, and all the colleagues that have come from Southern and Eastern Africa. It's okay. Can you hear me? Well, basically, the report talks about drivers of compliance, and they have listed so many of the drivers of compliance. I just summarized them. I will not discuss them in details. It went further to talk about the manifestations of compliance, of overcompliance. Okay, what it is, how does it manifest in the region and in other parts of the world. Then, it's going back. Okay, the impact are also so many, and when you get the presentation, I believe you will go through it. I'm rushing because I want to focus on the most important parts of the presentation, which should be what you should do after leaving here. Okay. Now, there are three major recommendations in the report. First, that the FATF must ensure that its revised approach to recommendation 8 is cascaded to the national level. I think I agree entirely with this recommendation. Number two, overcompliance, according to the report, is a failure of compliance and should be treated as non-compliant and be given a non-compliant rating. This is the major thing I disagree with in this report because of the anticipated controversies that it will generate, and I hope that you reflect on it. For the fact that you have overcomplied does not mean that you have not complied at all. And therefore, you will be generating issues that you will not be able to resolve. Thirdly, that the FATF to recalibrate what should be assessed under recommendation A. But the report did not say what they need to include in the recalibration. In my view, the FATF current revision and the guidance notes are sufficient. Now, the report recommends a lot of measures to be taken to enforce the correct risk-based approach to regulation is the solution. Secondly, that countries should conduct credible and periodic risk assessment. They should avoid classifying NPOs as inherently risky, and they should revise directives, etc., etc. All these recommendations are laudable, and they are really the pathways that I think countries should adopt. For the regulators, for the NPOs, the following recommendations are made. They should engage in self-regulation, they should forge stronger collaboration and collective representation, and they should exchange information with regulators, and they should invest in legal literacy. This one, I think Victoria will be the professor to take them through the legal literacy. They should generate evidence. This is the most important recommendation that I think really catches my eye, because everything should be based on evidence, and the risk assessment is part of it. And this work that Spaces for Change has done is an excellent work in accordance with the FATF interpretative notes to encourage research on this subject. So it should continue. Okay. I'm stopped. Okay. You see? Okay. They should embrace strategic communication. They should engage with financial institutions. They should institute strategic litigation in order to claim their rights, and they should demonstrate unwavering commitment. This was the conclusion of the immediate past session, that NPOs must embrace AML CFT and demonstrate commitment to anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism. Some observations are pertinent here. One, NPOs are not averse to regulation, but they are averse to excessive regulation. This is what the report says. Okay? They are not saying they should not be regulated, but they should be regulated according to the risk-based approach. Secondly, I commend the general passion with which the report was put, and I congratulate Spaces for Change for really bringing up this issue to the front burner. This is how a civil society is supposed to actively engage the regulators, engage the government, demand for accountability, deepen governance, and promote unity. Thirdly, I commend and congratulate Nigeria for the feat it has achieved, but it does not stop there. From here, where next do you go? To get a C compliant rating is not enough. The principle, therefore, is the reward for good work is more work. So, I call your attention as you go back to the following. Address yourself to the specific definition of NPOs. The reason why we have the problems we have been discussing all through is because we have not addressed ourselves to the correct definition of NPOs as defined by the FATF. So go back to the FATF recommendations and see the correct definition and underline the point being made that NPOs are involved in some good works. So we should treat them as partners and encourage them on what they are doing. Secondly, I call your attention to the FATF approach. And the FATF approach involves the following. One, that protecting NPOs from terrorist financing is both critical component of the global effort to prevent and combat terrorism and a necessary step to preserve the integrity of the NPOs themselves. So, this is a collective responsibility. And the main thrust of this conference is actually to find African solutions to African problems. So this is where we should apply the solution. Secondly, measures to protect NPOs from potential terrorist financing abuse should be focused and in line with the risk-based approach. Now, FATF definition, I thought, it's going back. I'm going back, yes. It's taking me back. Now, the objective of the FATF approach, there are 3 key objectives, and each country must understand them. 1, to protect the NPOs from being used to pose as legitimate entities to do certain things that are not legitimate. Secondly, to be allowed to be exploited by non-legitimate entities. And thirdly, to be used to conceal or obscure clandestine diversion of resources. So this is the main objective why FATF is involved. In one of the questions that was asked in the last but one session is, why should NPOs be interested in AML CFT? They should be interested in AML CFT in order to protect their interests and the community interests. Okay? Now, technically, you have not heard me. There are 10 key principles that I want to draw your attention to. 10 key principles. Before I close, I will not take it up to 5 minutes. One is the fact that flexibility in developing a national response to NPOs is essential in order to allow it to evolve over time. So you need to apply some flexibilities and allow it to evolve over time. Principle number 2, focus, proportionate, and risk-based measures adopted by countries to protect NPOs from abuse should not unduly disrupt or discourage legitimate business. This is what we have been saying here throughout, from yesterday to today. Thirdly, where NPOs are suspected of or implicated in terrorist financing, or they are identified, the first priority for each country is to first of all investigate and halt such terrorist financial support. When there is a suspicion or allegation, first you must investigate before you take necessary steps. 4, countries should develop an understanding of the different degrees of risk, and this is done through the national risk assessment, is done through the NPO specialized risk assessment. 5, I should not know. 5, countries should be mindful of the potential impact of the measures we take on legitimate NPOs. And this is what this report emphasizes, that when you take some actions because you want to deal with the delinquent NPOs, you should be aware that there are many more legitimate and law-abiding NPOs, and you should allow them to flourish and do their businesses. 6th principle, it is not in line with FATF Recommendation 8 to implement any measures that are not proportionate to the assessed risk. These are the wordings of the FATF Interpretative Note 2 Recommendation 8. 7, NPOs are not reporting entities and should not be required to conduct customer due diligence. This is an important message and is taken from the FATF. Countries should encourage the development of academic research. Again, I congratulate Spaces for Change because of the vast publications I have seen they have produced on this and other matters, because we need to understand the subject matter. Number 8, in assessing the risks associated with NPOs, you may have to consider the other self-regulatory measures that have been put in place by NPOs. Because if NPOs are required to register, they must have put some measures in place. So please, in your risk assessment, take into account the measures that they have put in place in order to regulate themselves. 9, for NPOs identified to be at risk, countries may focus only on undertaking outreach concerning them. Don't need to ask them to be fully regulated. Just reach out to them, establish partnership with them, create dialogue forums with them, and you will understand them better and they understand your job better. Finally, a one-size-fits-all approach will not be consistent with the proper implementation of a risk-based approach. So these are the 10 principles that I want each and every participant to take away. Now, additional guidance have been provided by the FATF best practice paper, which I summarized to include the following. 1, FATF recommendation does not apply to NPO sectors as a whole, and we have agreed with that throughout this discussion. 2, not all NPOs are at high risk, and some may even represent little or no risk at all. 3, recommendation 8 does not operate in isolation. Its implementation should be consistent with the overarching requirements of recommendation 1. Which is based on the risk-based approach. There are 5 categories of abuse that the NPOs face. 1 is the type of abuse that consists of diversion of funds. This is very significant abuse. Secondly, NPOs or their directing officials knowingly or unknowingly maintaining affiliation with a terrorist organization. This is a very serious potential risk, especially in countries that have reported cases of terrorism. Third, abuse to support recruitment efforts by terrorist entities and the abuse of programming in their work, as well as abuse through false representation in order to create sham pictures. All these are the guidance provided in the FATF best practice papers, which should guide you in developing your policies towards the NPOs. Sorry. Now, there are 4 elements of an effective approach to protecting the NPOs. 1, there should be ongoing outreach with the sector. Deal with them as partners. Deal with them as collaborators. Secondly, apply proportionate risk-based supervision or monitoring where it's necessary for you to monitor. Thirdly, conduct effective investigation and information sharing. And finally, put effective mechanisms for international cooperation so that you can identify NPOs at risk. Finally, conclusion now. Okay. Now, the specific measures have already been discussed, and therefore I don't need to discuss them. I just want to conclude by saying the following. 1, we must all know that the FATF brand is encapsulated in the 40 recommendations, and therefore we should deal with NPOs as being encapsulated there. Secondly, FATF recommendation 8 and interpretative note should be the focus of dialogue with NPOs. When you want to discuss with them, focus on the issues provided by the FATF. Thirdly, we must understand the FATF Recommendation A and the interpretative note to be and how to apply it. So you must read the FATF recommendations, understand the interpretative notes as well as the guidance notes. And finally, we must first understand how the FATF expects us to deal with these issues. So these are the flashpoints that I respectfully want to leave you with, so that when you go back to our respective jurisdictions, please, please, and please, focus, understand the definition of NPO by the FATF. Understand the principles adumbrated in the interpretative notes, and fully understand also the guidance note. I thank you and have a very good evening.
Very valuable perspective and institutional depth to the findings that we are launching today. Because of time, we will go straight into the unveiling of the report.
And on behalf of the major stakeholders, including the supporting organizations, the EFCC, the school, the NFIU, the FSRBs, Civic Advisory Hall, etc., etc., and on behalf of our big madam here, our most dynamic Victoria, please keep it up, you are doing very well. This report is unveiled in the name of God and for the service of all those who are committed to AML CFT in Africa. So this is the African Commission, the African Commission. You should all join us to launch this and thank Spaces for Change for this initiative, and we hope that those who provided the funding for the publication of this report will continue to support Spaces for Change. Thank you very much, all partner organizations, for your support, and congratulations to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Shehu, for your very balanced feedback. I thought the feedback was rich, and it was also very balanced. And it is a reflection of experiences of most of the convenings we've had across West Africa, and also experiences of a lot of our partners, the members of the G16. The G16 represent organizations in the 16 countries in West Africa, working on counterterrorism and civic space. So they have also made contributions, submitted country reports from their respective countries, which informed the analysis that we find in this report. And we want to thank so many of you for your support over the years, and we hope you continue to support us. Thank you very much.